Welcome, everybody. We are back for another installment of some wrestling content here on the Anthony Blackwell Jr. channel. I myself, ABJ, joined by BP Burke. What is going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. It's the calm before the sports storm this week for me. Wrestling is in the back of my mind. There's a lot of football and baseball and hockey and a little bit of everything else coming up here.
Yeah, it's good to be a Philly fan, I guess, huh?
Except the Sixers.
Can't win them all, you know?
Fire Doc Rivers, we might.
Speaking of dealing with Philly related stuff, we don't have to deal with Carson Wentz anymore. That's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah. They figured it out a little quicker than other teams did. I'll give the Commanders credit.
Yeah,
for
he
that.
hurt his finger, and they're like, "We think he's done for the year. It's gonna be a long recovery."
He has a hangnail out for the season.
It says the chat bot is running, so I'm gonna test it out real quick, see if it works. EUW Wrestling says, "Hi Anthony, what's going on, my guy?" Looks like the chat bot commands are still not working. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I give up. I thought it'd be a cool little thing.
I'm too old to even understand what these things are.
I'm trying to get hip and get it with the newer times, but it's just not working for me. Anyway, top of the thing on Snapchat, on the stream is our Discord link. If you want to join us on Discord, we've been having some really fun in there. We had like 8 people the last couple nights up until like 3 o'clock in the morning hanging out, just chatting. We found this one kid. Somehow we found one of us and then joined. But he had we were playing Wheel of Fortune in there. Like he had it like streaming, and then we were playing along. It was fun. We had a really good time. But yeah, head over on Discord. The link's up top. You have to download Discord on either your phone or your computer, and you can hang out and chat with us. Trying to think anything else. Anything new going on with you? You want to talk about before we get started?
Not really. I know you're gonna have a video out of our trip to wrestling trivia. We're hanging out with our buddies at the We Like Wrestling podcast at the Nitro Bar in West Reading.
That's right.
I successfully upheld my reputation as the wrestling encyclopedia.
Maybe spoiler alert. Maybe if check us out how we did. I think we kind of posted it.
It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler.
Yeah, it's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. But I will say this: I came in clutch.
Yeah, you did. Well, we would have won anyway, but we would have won anyway.
We would have dominated. But I had the one question that
was all you wanted, was to know one thing that I didn't, and you got it. At the buzzer.
Yeah, the very last question of the game. I nailed it. It pays to watch television, I guess.
It does.
Yeah.
It pays to remember, because I saw that same thing and I totally forgot.
But I mean, so the other thing I just want to kind of put out there, announce, you're going to catch me on other platforms, obviously, as guest and joining and doing things. But I was kind of regular on, I feel like I'm really loud. I was kind of regular on another channel for quite some time now, on Tantalizing Tony. There's no beef. There's no animosity. We have two differences of opinions on how things go. And so I will not be a regular on that channel anymore. I want to thank everyone who has supported me from there. This is not drawing a line in the sand saying pick one or the other. I just want to make it clear that if you expect to see me there, you won't. I just want to kind of put it out there. Like I said, no beef, no hate. They're going to keep killing it. They're probably going to keep growing. They're going to keep doing everything they got to do. I think they have a stream going live at 8 o'clock tonight. Please go support it. But I will no longer be in attendance of that show. Maybe in the future we can do collabs or anything like that. But as a regular, I will not be a regular. And I think that's important to tell people. I think if you set yourself up as a regular thing and you're not going to be there, I think the people should know about it instead of just retconning and not talking about it. I think it's weird, but and that's pretty much all I have new. This Friday you can hang out with me at Atlantic City. I'll be doing commentary for Pro Wrestling After Dark. I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, that's the one you were really hyped for, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's excellent.
I get to I'll be commentating a casket match for the first time ever with Pitbull Gary Wolf.
Oh, excellent
versus Vincenzo.
If we're gonna go, it seems like we're doing all stuff out of the way now, so I will just throw that plug out for Murder My Dude.
Absolutely, links all below.
Comedy podcast links are below. We usually do bi-weekly, but we had a a 3-week break about a month ago, primarily because I had COVID and wasn't really in a good state to record. So we're making up for it now. We did a show last week. We reviewed Halloween Ends. I think our review lasted longer than the movie. And this week we are talking about something that was brought up in the chat here. One of the times we did a show here, we're going to be talking about the Robert Blake, Bonnie Lee Bakley incident.
Yeah. Somebody recommended it on the stream, and I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do live with the community. Probably not very well, but it's all right. If people do join in, we will ask people if they have any recommendations on things they want to us to cover soon. We do have an episode already planned, possibly next Thursday. We're gonna try to keep this Thursdays. Maybe start earlier on 7 instead of doing 8 o'clock at night. But we're going to do History of Sting Part 2. Jake the Tribal Chief is in the chat. What's up, man? We acknowledge you. Been killing it on the Discord. That's my guy. But yeah, we're going to do the History of Sting Part 2. That'll air. And then over on the other side of the things on the channel, the ABJ podcast is officially launched. We are now on pretty much all streaming platforms, I think. I don't think Google has us up yet, but we're on like Apple and Anchor. We're on iHeartRadio, which
nice.
Yeah, I kind of found a way to put us on there. But I have my first interview with Andrew Pizzo, who did a local horror movie here it's been banned in other countries as well as banned on streaming services for being too extreme. So you can check out that interview and buy the movie and watch it and see.
Too hot for streaming.
It is crazy. I will say it is. It's pretty nuts. The special effects are very well done.
Too hot for Netflix.
Are you horror movied out?
Yeah, I watched my one horror movie for the year, and now I think I'm done. I understand horror movies are fanatical about their horror movies. It's not my preferred type of movie. Although I did last year, and I know it's back now, and I gotta kind of catch up. I did enjoy the Chucky series on USA.
Oh, it's really good.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. So let's get into our topic of the evening. I'll put it up here real quick so people can see. It is going to be an episode. Oh, I'm going to put my banner up too. Put that going there. It is going to be an episode of CHIKARA that was filmed in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And boy, yeah. I kicked myself in the face on this one, right? This happened literally right in my backyard. I didn't know what CHIKARA was. I had no idea it existed. You weren't living in the area yet.
No, but I barely knew what Pottsville was. I knew Pottsville just from Yingling beer.
Yeah, so here is the thumbnail. I mean, essentially everyone there is just legendary. You know, maybe not one to the common folk, but to everyone else. I mean, spoiler alert: that guy in the red up in the corner, that's Cassidy. The guy in the green is Gulak, right?
No, I believe that's Green Ant. That's Tracy Hot Sauce Williams.
Oh, that's Hot Sauce. Gulak wrestled earlier. My bad. I should have put him on the thing. Lindsay Dorado, you got 2.0. UltraMantis Black, which is a personal favorite of both of ours. More so you than me. Claudio, and only because you've known him longer. Claudio, Delirious, Eddie Kingston, and Brodie Lee. And there's a lot more who join us on this show here tonight. One that I didn't even realize until on the drive to the trivia. Yeah.
Spoilers. Yeah. This was kind of the golden age for the indies. CHIKARA was running strong. Ring of Honor was running strong. PWG was building up their name. CZW was a little bigger than it is now. CZW is kind of on the upswing again. They're kind of fighting their way back up. But Dragon Gate USA, because I believe at this point Gabe Sapolsky had been ousted by I'm almost positive at this point Gabe Sapolsky had been ousted by Ring of Honor, so he was running Dragon Gate USA, aka Dragon Gabe. And yeah, it was just an embarrassment of riches on the indie scene. And then just guys started getting snapped up because by 2013, Ring of Honor snaps up a lot of guys because Ring of Honor is still going strong. But by 2013, that's when you have people like I don't know if there's many people on the show, but Brodie Lee gets signed not too long after this, maybe a year or so after this. Claudio gets signed by WWE not too long after this. Like people were getting snapped up left and right here.
Yeah, this is the perfect example of why you should support independent wrestling, because you never know. Like,
And
for the longest time, I always thought, man, if you want to succeed in indies, you got to go to like Florida, right? Because that's where like the base of NXT, and that's where a lot of promotions, and Florida was the place to be because that's where NXT was filming, NXT and TNA and Impact and all that stuff was filming down there. But you kind of look at it's like, man, everyone who worked the Northeast.
Yeah.
Everyone on TV right now are people who were on they were the indie darlings.
Yeah, well, back in at this point, from I would say like from really most of the early 2000s, from 2000 until NXT opens up, or until PWG takes off, because for a while there, around like 2012 on maybe, PWG was the place where people really got noticed. But for a long time,
but even that was a lot of Northeast guys.
Yeah, well, those guys from all over. For a long time, if you wanted to get noticed, Philly was the place. I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm not trying to be a hometown guy. It was Philly because the big 500-pound gorilla in independent wrestling was Ring of Honor, and that's where Ring of Honor was.
It's so crazy that Philly has nothing now.
Yeah. There's
I can't tell you. I mean, unless I'm closed off to not knowing, but I don't think any promotion is like a Philly promotion right now.
Well, your super indie in the Northeast now is GCW, and they're going to run New Jersey because
they're more everything's more or less New Jersey.
Well, you don't have to. A
lot less restrictions.
Yeah, there's a lot less regulation in New Jersey. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
If GCW could do their show and run the ECW arena and not have to pay through the nose to run there, they probably would. I'm gonna guess.
The 2300 arena, ECW arena, is essentially just like 1 or 2 shows a year, and it's like attached to a con, you know.
That scene kind of dried up, and GCW is keeping it going. GCW is killing it. H2O has their scene.
Love it.
Yeah, New Jersey has been North and South has been really a hotbed, and a lot of it is, you don't have to put the $10,000 bond up. You don't have to have the license. You don't have to have a doctor. You don't have to deal with all the stuff you have to deal with in PA in New York.
Yeah. So if you want to, unless you've already watched it, if you've been following us on social media, all social media, Anthony Blackwell Jr., if you have watched it, then you can hang out and talk along the show with us and tell us what you thought about it. If you didn't watch it and you would like to, subscribe to IWTV. Listen, it is the absolute best bang for your buck. I'm actually going to pull it up on the share screen here.
IndependentWrestling.tv.
Yeah. So here it is. This is the card we're going to break down. So the Eye of Tyr affects CHIKARA history once more. Tis this event, Eddie Kingston takes out his frustrations on the Gran Akuma and his hard-hitting encounter. Aries and Claudio and Sara Del Rey and Daizee Haze dominate CHIKARA's best tag teams, while UltraMantis Black and Delirious cash in to challenge the Colony for the Los Campeonatos de Parejas, right?
Whoa, no, not even close.
Try it again. I'm terrible at it.
Los Campeones de Parejas.
Thank you.
Or yes, that would be the name of the title, or the title.
Listen, that was a bugaboo for me, and even Camp Leapfrog.
And you didn't have to say Parejas. It was just
Parejas. See, help me out.
Yes.
The Unstable versus Throwbacks. Brodie Lee versus Green Ant. Daizee Haze, Sara Del Rey versus Incoherence. BDK versus the Bad Boys. The Assyrian Portal and Super Smash Bros. Gran Akuma versus Eddie Kingston. Gran Akuma, sorry. Tiras, Tim Don'ts, Lindsay Dorado, Pink Ant versus Quack. The Future Is Now. The tag team, the Order versus the Neon Solar Temple versus the Colony. But if you just go to the main page here, man, this is absolutely filled with independent wrestling that you're gonna love. Now,
I think we should do I have a new bit idea. We should do a CHIKARA spelling bee with you. Or a CHIKARA pronunciation bee.
No, thank you. But here's the cool thing, too. Like, you look at the poster, and if all you watch is TV wrestling, right? And you're like, oh, I don't know anyone on these posters, which you should. Like, if you just go, let's see, it just shows here, our video on demand, see what pops up. Usually there's a few good ones here that just kind of catch your eye. But, like, a lot of people who are on TV still work the independent scene, and you can definitely see them work matches that you never thought you would be able to see them work. They have a great Life of series. It's like a documentary following people on there. And there's over 305 different promotions from all around the world. You can't beat that. It's a great bang for your buck. Definitely check out IWTV. Philly Mike Swanson says Pink Ant. He's a Pink Ant fan.
Yeah. Well,
Philly Mike trained a little bit there.
Yeah.
At Philly there. We gotta have Philly Mike on one day. Philly Mike, pick a show on IWTV you want us to review, and you can join us on the panel. For how much I hang out with the guy, you think I'd have him on the podcast, you know? I'm in the top 10 greatest wrestlers ever. Look at EU Wrestling, killing it right now. Ed should come back and put Dom on the shelf. Well, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But
yeah, WWE, come on.
WWE, this is Chikara talk.
This is Chikara and really Chikara in its prime. And Chikara, if you don't know about it, just a little bit of a history lesson before we get into the show. Chikara was, and he's a controversial figure these days. It is the kind of the brainchild of Mike Quackenbush. Got to give credit where credit's due. And it started as what a lot of places are now. It's one of these wrestling companies. It's also like the promotion arm of a school. We're going to train people. We're going to give them an opportunity to learn by putting on shows. And it's something that still happens to this day. Like H2O does that. The Sanctuary does that. So many places do that. And Chikara did it. And your original head trainers are Mike Quackenbush and Chris Hero. That's a pretty good group to learn from. They bring in Jorge Rivera afterwards. No, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. Skyade, I believe. Hero leaves. Claudio gets involved with training. And yeah, so it
goes on and on. Yeah.
And you can look up the list of the people who were trained or came through Chikara, and it is insane.
We are not here. Just I'm putting it out there. We're not here to diminish anything that people experience at Chikara and the reason Chikara is not around. We are showcasing the people who stepped between those ropes and worked their ass off and who are talent that we fell in love with. And that's why we still are watching shows like Chikara. You know what I mean? Like everyone talks about, man, Kingston, Claudio, that's going to blow up one day. Because of these shows that we're talking about that. You know what I mean? Like
if you hear like Eddie Kingston going on TV, like, I hate Claudio. It goes back to this. It is a feud that has been, and obviously it was on the back burner because Claudio's been in WWE for most of the last 12 years. But it's something that goes back to like 2009, 2010 Chikara. And Chikara is influenced by a lot of things. Lucha Libre for sure, comic books. The idea that these people are larger than life characters, the things that might not necessarily be able to happen in the real world can happen in Chikara. It's something where, and I'm fine with that. I have that reputation for, I don't like things that are a little silly, a little goofy, but I love Chikara. No one was sillier or goofier than Chikara, but that was their world. That was their world. What I don't like is, we're going to be very serious until we have the clown come on, and then we're going to be super fun, and then we're going to be very serious again. You have to take this super serious, AEW.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
So we got more people joining Discord already. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys for clicking the link and joining our Discord. So he said, I want the indie Lucha Underground back. I would say Lucha Underground was more of a promotion. Like
Lucha
had network.
Lucha Underground was not a promotion or an indie. Lucha Underground was a TV show.
Yeah, it was a TV show. I think people
like,
had good deals
literally, there. Yeah, well, they had good deals, except they were kind of locked into them. They got locked into them forever, even when they stopped producing stuff. That's why Ricochet WWE wanted Ricochet years before he actually showed up there, but he couldn't go because of his Lucha Underground deal.
But I will agree, I want Lucha Underground back as well.
Lucha Underground was more of like a Wrestling Society X or something like that. It was literally a television production. They never did house shows. They never really did live shows. The main owner guy, Dario Cueto, I forget his name now. He's in MLW now. The guy's real name is Luis Fernandez Gil. And he was an actor. He had nothing to do with wrestling. He was an actor they brought in to play that role. And yeah, it was produced for TV. It was, I believe, produced by Mark Burnett, who his big reputation is he is the guy who brought Survivor to the US. And even the head producer, I believe his name was Eric Von Wagoner of Lucha Underground, is one of the main producers of Survivor now. Yeah. So it was 100% a television production. And again, kind of had that world, much like Chikara, where anything can really happen. There's elements of fantasy of of magic and things like that. Except CHIKARA was a lot more lighthearted. It was a lot more family friendly. They would do big things before the events, like please don't curse, please be a family friendly audience. And they're running Philly and they're doing this and people are going with it.
Yeah.
Like you would have something big happen and they would chant holy poop.
Yeah. Love it.
And I love that.
Just hit 50 members on the Discord. That is super exciting. If we can keep growing that and the Discord members carry over to viewers, that'd be amazing. You know, fingers crossed. We'll see how it happens. But the reason inside baseball here, BP Brian, that I want to do Discord and make Discord a thing is if you post something,
I'm just an old man that doesn't understand it.
Yeah, if you post something on social media and you expect people to see your post and find your content, you're fucked, because all social media is who pays the most money to get your shit seen the most. Discord, I post something, every member sees it. It's not being flooded. I love it. It's a better way to really be in touch with your community and talk and get to know everybody. And I really, really like it, because anyone can be just a viewer and I have no idea who you are, but the Discord kind of makes things a little personal. And I'm a fan of that. Also, you know how some shows have call-ins? I'm thinking of finding a way. I'm trying to figure out how to integrate it, but I want to do a thing where I can possibly do a thing where people can go into a Discord chat, join the stream via Discord chat, and ask questions.
Right on.
Like maybe their face won't pop up, or we can just send them a link. We'll figure something out, but it's going to be used through Discord, where that link is only sent to Discord, stuff like that. Yes, I do have TikTok, A Blackwell Jr. on TikTok. All my links are below too in the ABJ links. You can find me on all social media. But let's get into this. Kick off the show, Brian. We are in Goodfellas Warehouse, Pennsylvania, where I have seen countless music shows, have helped run music shows there, and now they have a wrestling ring. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm into the vibe. Kind of smaller, intimate room.
Yeah, and people loved like just reading people's responses to these shows. People loved the artwork on the wall of all the musicians and everything. And yeah, it was very tightly packed, but I'm sure they didn't have a huge house because there wasn't room for them. But yeah, it was definitely a really, really cool
I'm
venue.
shocked no one jumped off the stage into the ring.
Yeah, CHIKARA didn't really do a lot of in the crowd fighting. Well, they do it in the front row there, but they didn't do a whole lot of that stuff.
Because there was nobody in between the stage and the ring.
Yeah.
Like someone could have easily jumped off. Also, where I normally sit at the bar is where Evo Uno was thrown into. So I was like, I sat where Evo Uno got chucked into the wall. Dark Order right there. There's my mask.
So this took place on February 28th, 2010 at the Goodfellas Warehouse in Potts Hill. A world of comforting illusion, and you can find it on IWTV, as you mentioned earlier. Speaking of IWTV, our opening match has Unstable.
When they say so, Goodfellas is very known for having Bret Michaels play there twice or three times, and everyone's like, "It's the Bret Michaels bar." Not anymore. This is the bar Brodie Lee was at. That's all there is to it. Yeah. Claudio, Brodie Lee. I mean, listen, we should put a plaque outside of all the wrestlers who wrestled there at night that are now amazing.
Like,
you know
when they would have those like things on the Colonial Trail, like in Valley Forge, George Washington slept here. You put a plaque on Goodfellas, Brodie Lee wrestled here.
Yes,
Claudio Castagnoli wrestled here.
Eddie Kingston wrestled here.
I'm gonna set up my joke again. Speaking of IWTV, our opening match has the Unstable Vin Gerard. He knows a little something about IWTV, and he's teaming up with Stigma, formerly Shane Storm, against the Throwbacks. Dasher Hatfield, who we were there for his last match as Avery Good professional wrestler, and his partner, the original partner in the Throwback, Sugar Dunkerton. If you remember the early days of AEW, Sugar Dunkerton had a run there as Pineapple Pete, and then later Shug D.
Yep.
And I think that was during the very beginning of the pandemic era, where they would have the people around the ring, and he was there in a pineapple shirt, and he became Pineapple Pete.
And he had a rivalry with Jericho.
He did.
It's pretty sick.
I loved the musical intro for the Throwbacks here. It's the ESPN Sports Center thing at the time, the da-na-na, da-na-na, right in the glory days by Bruce Springsteen.
Not a Bruce Springsteen fan, but I will say I like it as entrance music.
That was great, especially for them, because they're these old, like the gimmick of the Throwbacks, the reason they're called the Throwbacks, Dasher Hatfield. At this point, Dasher had been around for quite a bit, and he was something they called create a wrestler. It was a takeoff of the video games where you can create your own wrestler. And Chikara would have seasons. It would begin early in the year, like January, February, end around November. And every season or two, Dasher or create a wrestler would have a new gimmick. One time he was Moose Cow, the communist bovine. One time he was Ultimo Breakfast, and his mask had like toast and bacon and eggs on it. And then he got Dasher Hatfield, and like this is going to be my permanent gimmick. And he was Dasher Hatfield for most of the rest of his career until he was a very good professional wrestler, and then later a very good professional
I was
wrestler.
looking for a shirt to wear for this stream, and I almost put on my Dasher one, but I have to like go through totes of all my wrestling shirts to find it. And I will say, Big Dan Champion, if you're ever
Big
listening,
Dan!
I'll probably clip this part just so. But this is the most comfortable, loose fitting. I had to get it in 2X because he didn't have extra large. But Heidi did a good job shrinking it, so it feels like an extra large now. But it's so like breathable. I recommend it. Dan Champion, go get your T-shirt, and you'll look great in it.
Yeah, you look like Big Dan.
Yeah, I love me some Big Dan.
And your commentators, they did do a rotation on commentary here because one of your commentators winds up reffing a little bit. Your commentators in the beginning are Bryce Remsburg and Colin Delaney.
Bryce, who you see on AEW as a referee.
Yeah, and on the show as a referee with more hair. And Delaney, Colin Delaney, he's done some AEW dark matches. He's done some dark matches for WWE, but he had a small run in WWE. Shortly before this, he was just a guy they brought in as a jobber, and he was one of those guys like a James Ellsworth or somebody like that who they brought him in to lose a match and get crushed, and he really made an impression, and they kept bringing him back, and he was basically the new ECW, the WWE ECW, the fake ECW, the bad ECW, whatever you want to call it. He was their version of Mikey Whipwreck, and then he turned heel eventually. Mm-hmm. And Delaney is in the unstable. He's openly rooting for the unstable. They're the Rudos here. Vin Gerard we'll actually talk about a little bit later as far as the grand, or we can actually, do we want to set up the whole story here? Because this is going to be a long part.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vin Gerard gets started as a wrestler called Equinox. He was a master wrestler called Equinox. And one of the big things in Chikara was the Chikara special. It's a move that has a lot of history in throughout Chikara. People still use it every now and then. It's a submission hold. And the reason they have the Chikara special is, as I mentioned a while back, the original two trainers at Chikara, and Reckless Youth, I forgot to mention Reckless Youth. He was the third one. He was an indie legend in the 90s. But Chris Hero and Mike Quackenbush formed a tag team called the Super Friends. That was kind of like an unstoppable tag team. And Chris Hero turns on Mike Quackenbush, and they have this huge feud through an entire season. And then it ends with I'm trying to make sure I get this right because it was so long ago. It was so long ago that I might be missing pieces or getting things a little bit wrong. And you got to remember, back at this point...
Also, we're doing everything off the top of our head. We don't have notes. Just
I have notes. I just don't have like copious notes.
Yeah.
I don't have like a whole rundown of this thing. But the Chikara special is a move that is designed by Mike Quackenbush specifically to beat Chris Hero. And so Mike Quackenbush has this big showdown with Chris Hero, and he puts Chris Hero in the Chikara special, and Hero can't get out. He has to tap. Nobody can break the Chikara special. And then Mike Quackenbush proceeds to teach all of the technicals, all of the good guys in Chikara, the Chikara special, because he knows Chris Hero can't escape it. So Chris Hero goes on this gigantic losing streak because everybody knows if I get him the Chikara special, it's over. He doesn't know how to break it.
Mm-hmm.
He's done. And that goes through a whole season. And he has this big feud with Equinox, and it ends with a big match where in 2007, where Equinox is going to wrestle Chris Hero, and this is all lucha libre. It is a mask versus hair match, which is like a big thing in Mexico. Your mask is your identity, your hair is your identity, is your pride. So they're going to do a match where if Equinox loses, he has to unmask, and if Hero loses, he gets his head shaved. And Equinox slaps on that Chikara special. Mike Quackenbush is on commentary, and Chris Hero breaks the Chikara special. He counters out of it. And Mike Quackenbush is flipping out. How did he learn how to do this? Chris Hero wins. Equinox unmasks, and he is Vin Gerard, who was a guy who was a dropout of the Chikara Wrestle Factory, who put on a mask and conned his way into getting in Chikara, even though he was a dropout of the school. So he spends the rest of his time in Chikara as an ultimate bad guy. And
could you imagine in the wrestling world if someone just walked to a wrestling school and they're like, yeah, I'm not giving you any identification of myself. I'm just this masked guy.
It doesn't hold up to a lot of it doesn't hold up to a lot of scrutiny.
Take it easy, EUW. Have a good night, man. Thank you for hanging out.
It doesn't hold up to a lot of scrutiny. But then Equinox becomes Vin Gerard. Yeah, he bought a mask, learned some Spanish, and convinced one of the trainers. They actually did explain this. Jorge Rivera, he convinced him to vouch for him.
Okay.
And then he just becomes a bitter heel and a bad guy, and he starts this thing called Unstable. And you later find out that the guy who Quackenbush goes on this witch hunt. He goes on this witch hunt for who taught Chris Hero the count of the Chikara special. And he finds out that Shane Storm, who was one of the top baby faces, who teamed with Jigsaw and Mike Quackenbush all the time, one of the top technicos in Chikara, taught the counter to UltraMantis Black. And UltraMantis Black taught it to Hero. And the reason Shane Storm taught it to UltraMantis Black, he was on a big losing streak, and he got one of UltraMantis Black's people, I think it was Hydra, to throw a match so he could break his losing streak and get his confidence back. And then this leads to Shane Storm and Mike Quackenbush having a match, and I'm not sure who they were against, but Tim Donst, who was another member of Unstable, comes down. He was a babyface at this point, or Technico, and he whispers something to Mike Quackenbush, and Mike Quackenbush flips out and starts beating up Shane Storm because he found out that Shane Storm was the one that taught Hero.
Has UltraMantis ever wrestled without a mask?
No.
No.
It is rare to see UltraMantis without a mask.
I wonder.
Publicly.
I doubt it. I highly, highly, highly doubt it.
He may have at some point. And
no, what I'm saying is, what if we can interview UltraMantis Black?
Oh, that would be amazing.
I doubt it would happen.
He's a fun interview. I've heard him interview. He does interviews pretty much any interview I've ever heard of him. He's done in character and he's wonderful at it.
I don't like to normally do interviews in character, but he would be one that we would 100% do in character.
So basically what happens is the Unstable are all the people who were kind of caught up in this, and we'll pepper the rest of this out through the rest of the show because I don't want to do too much kind of world building, but that's how Unstable comes together. Vin Gerard is the former Equinox. Stigma is the one who turned on Quackenbush and taught Chris Hero the Chikara special, and he's kind of teaming with the guy who was the victim here because he lost his mask. But that allowed Vin Gerard to become like the miserable, mopey guy he becomes for the rest of his run in Chikara. And now they're wrestling the Throwbacks. Yeah. And the Throwbacks, they do mention this is something else that kind of plays heavily into a lot of the matches here, especially the tag matches. They keep talking on commentary about the Throwbacks having 2 points. So
yes.
The tag team titles, and at this point the tag team titles are held by the Colony, Fire Ant and Soldier Ant. The Campeonatos de Parejas. It's very simple to get a tag team title shot in Chikara. You have to win 3 matches in a row. If you win 3 matches in a row, you automatically get a title match. That's how it worked. And at this point, besides the Young Lions Cup, which was something that they did a tournament for it every year, and then we could defend it like a title. That they were the only titles in Chikara. You didn't have a main singles title.
I'm not sure if it's me or if it's you. It seems like your connection is going a little wonky here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Hold on. Just give it a second. See if, because you're starting to sound like a robot a little bit.
Yeah, it says I'm connected. I'm not sure if is it better.
No, you might have to back out and come back in just to clear it up.
Okay.
Because even your mic is really blurry and distorted.
Yeah, let's give that a try.
Yep. While he's gone, we will say, yeah. So we're setting up for the first match here. A lot of character story building. This is stuff I don't know. So I've actually been going back through IWTV and rewatching CHIKARA. I've just started season 3 because there's only a couple episodes of season 1 on there. None of season 2. I don't know why or the history of why it's not there. But I just started watching season 3 of CHIKARA, and I'm kind of going my way back, only because there's so many people who I really really enjoy who are part of that. You're here, but your camera is spinning. So he's loading in. Maybe Brian have. Oh, there he is. Any better?
Can you hear me now?
It's still pretty rough.
It took a while on your end. Like I think it might be on your end, just because.
Yeah, usually StreamYard tells me if I'm having any issues, and
I had no issues whatsoever loading anything on my side.
Yeah, my internet is banging right now. Like I'm good. I just did a speed test.
I can check that out myself here.
Yeah, when I went back and kind of checked on YouTube as well, and mine was still looking good, and yours was pretty rough.
I mean, my download speed is 175, 80. And my upload's in the 30s. My internet speed's fine.
Interesting. Did you close the whole browser out and start over?
I can give that a shot. I just closed the window.
Yeah, try to close the whole browser out. Maybe that'll.
Let's give it a shot.
But yeah, so I've been going back through IWTV and rewatching all that content, and I'm now that I have more time, I've been actually something's streaming live right now on IWTV. Wrestling Open episode 43 is now streaming live, so you can go check that out. See, like I said, they always have something going on. It's a great service. But yeah, a lot of people I care about and have worked and came out of there, so it'd be fun to go back and check out their previous content. Plus, you know, for me doing commentary, I try to watch as much on IWTV as I can to see talent that I don't know about, or especially in like New Jersey, where I'm starting to work a lot and seeing people for the first time. New York, hopefully I can break into that market. But yeah, I really love the service, and that's how we've been finding a lot of cool stuff out. Hopefully Brian's internet connection works. This is why we don't do it as a podcast right now, because we're just doing this as remote, and we can go through that. But if you are watching, I don't think I really have anybody to chat. I didn't really expect much, but that's all right. Hopefully this will grow and continue to do so. But as of right now, not looking amazing. What's up, bud?
And how are we now?
Much better.
Okay, apparently I had to close Google Chrome entirely.
Yeah. All right. So we are back. First match.
Yeah, it's the unstable and the throwbacks. I apologize that I sound like a robot while I was explaining the origins of the
it started getting crazy towards the end, but the middle stuff was all good.
Okay. So yeah, Colin Delaney also part of the unstable. We'll get into maybe a few reasons why a little bit later. But yeah, we were talking about the point system. So you have to get 3 points to earn a tag title shot. And coming into this match, the Throwbacks up until this point had 2 points, but then they lost a match to BDK, so now they're starting at the bottom again. They have to win 3 in a row. They do mention Dasher is here to stay. That is a callback to the Creator Wrestler thing we were talking about earlier, where Dasher Hatfield didn't was Creator Wrestler and would jump from gimmick to gimmick, but he's Dasher permanently now. There was a really fun exchange here with Sugar, Dunkerton, and Vin Gerard. Get a nice "Let's Go Throwbacks" chant. Bryce Remsburg does drop the Brett Michaels is going to be playing, but it's going to be the same time as King of Trios in Philly. We get a hot tag and a 4-way. Everybody's going to go nuts. And then we have a spot where Sugar Dunkerton throws Vin Gerard off the ropes. He wipes out on the floor. Dasher gets a victory roll and gets a 1-2-3 on Stigma. And pretty fun opener. It was
really good. Yeah. Dude, that Dasher, man, he's a very good professional wrestler.
He is.
Man.
And that Vin Gerard really loves IWTV.
Yeah, he's almost like he marketed it or something. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, and our buddy, you get to see him a lot on camera, working the apron, working the camera.
Yeah, Gary
ropes.
from IWTV.
Gary, man. Yeah. You know, it's pretty cool. I was at H2O, and Gary has like a thing in the rafters. Like they're like, there's a thing on H2O's walls of all like the people they thank from the business, like people who came through H2O, and Gary has a spot up there.
Smart Mark Video. This is the thing, and IWTV is such a. If I had IWTV at this time, I would have never missed a Chikara show. I would have, if it was on, I would have never missed them. This was a point where if you were really in the Ring of Honor or you were really into Chikara, it was tough because unless the show was near you and you could buy a ticket, you had to buy a DVD, and that could become an expensive habit. If you were paying $20 a pop for the DVDs and they're putting out a new DVD every few weeks, you're going to skip shows. Where now, like, you can really watch everything from most places. I know, like, GCW still does a pay-per-view model, and it works for them, and good for them. PWG has never left the DVD model. They're still active.
GCW might have a little streaming service coming soon.
They're always teasing an announcement. I heard that Joey Janela is going to show up on Raw, and they're going to be on Peacock. And I believe that because I read it on the internet.
The settlement series, they all they used was WWE entrance music, so that deal is really good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then we do get I
love how aware GCW is. That's hilarious.
Oh, they're great. We do get a Brodie Lee promo here. He is going to end Green Ant.
And I think I know where that promo was shot.
Well, yeah, you probably do.
Yeah.
Right outside. So this is Brodie Lee against Green Ant, power versus speed. It is only Green Ant's second singles match in Chikara.
Now this is Gulak.
This is Tracy Hot Sauce Williams.
Oh, this is Tracy Hot Sauce Williams.
Yeah. Who is still around, wrestled Willow Nightingale at Avery Good's last match show for LVAC.
I think he broke his orbital that match too.
He did leave worse for wear. He just recently, I think when AW was in Philly, I think he did a dark match on that show. He is very new here. He is only maybe less than a year in. So Green Ant normally was a new guy because he's green. Yeah. But it's a new guy they saw something in, and they definitely did see something in Hot Sauce. And
he's very talented.
Reasons. But this is just that classic power versus speed. Brodie Lee is being the big guy. Green Ant tries to come back, but he can't get anything going until the big comeback at the end. Green Ant fires up, gets some headbutts in, a few flash pin attempts. But then there's the big boot, and Remsburg and Delaney felt like that's it, it's over. But then Green Ant kicks out of two. He's tough. He's showing some resilience, but a sit-out power bomb, and that's the end. And then Brodie Lee gets the big win here. And Brodie Lee, he was a guy who got a lot of traction in Chikara. I think he was doing a lot of Dragon Gate USA at this point. He was doing Jersey All Pro, which was a big indie in North Jersey, with Necro Butcher, and they were the Redneck Wrecking Crew. They were a great tag team. So Brodie Lee was definitely somebody who was like, yeah, this
people knew who he was.
Yeah, he was. People knew how good he was. If you knew, you knew. It was one of those.
His character was cool.
So now our next match is a tag team match, and it's going to be the first time on the show we get to see the BDK, which BDK, I believe this is season 10 of Chikara. And season 10 of Chikara is like the BDK show. And BDK imagine crossing
MDK.
Not MDK, no. Imagine crossing the NWO with like Hydra from I almost said Mortal Kombat, from Marvel.
From Captain America, Marvel, yeah.
And they are the go-to thing because they were kind of vaguely European, vaguely they all wore the same things. Like some people kind of jokingly say, oh, they were Nazis. They were Nazis, yeah. But there wasn't any obvious. They didn't do any racial stuff or anything like that. Chikara would never touch anything like that. But they were a group, like literally on Chikara's website, it was not baby Technicos, which are baby faces, Rudos, which are heels, and BDK was its own section. That's how omnipresent they become. And it's led by Claudio Castagnoli and Aries, who was another guy from Switzerland they brought over. And they are coming in, and they are pretty much the top. They're such a top Rudo stable that they even emphasize here, like even the other bad guys don't like them. And their representatives here are Sara Del Rey and Daizee Haze, who kind of joined up because they were angry about women not really getting their fair shake in CHIKARA. And they're taking on Incoherence, Hallowicked, and Frightmare. Frightmare is a new member of Incoherence. It used to be Hallowicked and Delirious. And BDK has their own ring announcer.
And we worked with both of them, right? Frightmare and Hallowicked, right?
I don't ever remember Frightmare. Hallowicked for sure.
I know Frightmare hosted the show.
Yeah.
He wasn't physically there.
Yeah, Hallowicked was part of the Can't Believe Frog first live show. Him and UltraMantis Black teamed with Abby Jane to win the main event there. And then also they were part of the last Can't Believe Frog show, the Halloween show. They were I
got to do commentary with UltraMantis.
Yeah.
And you got to call an UltraMantis match.
Yeah, we were hiding for our lives at that point, me and Scott Holiday, but
yeah,
we did try to commentate the match as best we could. And BDK has their own ring announcer, Jakob Habermeyer. Everybody wears white. He's wearing a white suit. And I mean the person here, Daizee Haze, she had a big run here. She was doing a lot of stuff with Ring of Honor. She was helping train people there in the Ring of Honor dojo. And Sara Del Rey, speaking of training people, she's known more by her real name now, Sarah Amato. And she is the assistant head coach at the WWE Performance Center and gets a lot of credit for really shaping up the women's revolution as far as like Sasha and Becky and Charlotte and Bayley.
A beast in this match.
Oh, Sara Del Rey was...
They beat the shit out of these two dudes.
Yeah. If you plucked Sara Del Rey out of her, like, if Sara Del Rey was born 15 years later, she would be a superstar.
Yeah.
She would be a superstar. She was so good.
Yeah.
She was incredible.
Dude, Hallowicked and Frightmare, they get the fuck kicked out of them. Yeah. It was stiff.
The problem she had at this stage of the game was, if you looked at WWE and WWE was or Impact, because Impact was doing okay at this point, they wanted women, unless we were like, there were a few exceptions like Karma, Awesome Kong. They wanted women who were blonde and used to work for Hawaiian Tropic or used to work for
just like unrealistic
catalog
model girls.
They were looking for Kelly. They were looking for Candice Michelle. They were looking for divas. This was the height of the divas era. And I mean, you had people like Beth Phoenix, you had people like Natty, but even then, this is around the time Natty's whole gimmick was she farted uncontrollably. Like, they weren't really doing a whole lot with Natty either. And then, so we have the smaller members of each team, Daizee Haze and Frightmare, starting off super fast paced. And then they isolate Frightmare, and they do bring up, Bryce Remsburg brings up, it's very funny that Sara Del Rey was trained by Bryan Danielson, and they even mentioned, oh yeah, he might be going by Daniel Bryan now. And he hadn't even been on TV yet. He was just an OVW. Really? Yeah, he had very recently gotten signed. And
so
then
they kind of spoiled it a little bit.
Well, no, everybody knew. Like, everybody knew.
Did they know he changed his name?
Yeah, because he was Daniel Bryan in OVW.
Okay.
He was, and because this is a little bit later in 2010 is when they scrapped WWE's version of ECW and they start NXT, but NXT at the very beginning was almost like a reality show mixed with a wrestling show, and you had 8 rookies and their pros, and it was a competition where people get voted off every week and somebody would win. And that's where Daniel Bryan started. That's where Wade Barrett started. Everybody that was in the original Nexus. That's where Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, Ryan Reeves, who would become Ryback eventually, or Skip Sheffield, who would become Ryback eventually. They were all in that first class of NXT. And so there's back to the match. There's a big dive from Frightmare to Haze. They double team Sara Del Rey, and they do a thing where they mention that like BDK are kind of rudos even to the other rudos. And Sara Del Rey, her offense here, yeah, she was whipping some ass in this match. Her offense is intense, believable,
crazy.
She was so far ahead of her time. It's not even funny, because at this point, the only place in America that's really taking women's wrestling seriously is Shimmer. And Shimmer was a separate company. It was run by Dave Prazak, who now does a lot of announcing. He did a lot of announcing back then too for like Ring of Honor and places. And Prazak, it was basically a women's Ring of Honor. Like, it was all the best female workers in wrestling. And the main event of the first Shimmer show, and it's an incredible match. If you can find it, watch it. It's Sara Del Rey and Mercedes Martinez, and it is
Ooh.
every bit as good as you think it is, and then some.
Yeah, I have to find that.
And so Hollywood Kid gets his comeback on Daizee Haze, but he's reluctant to go full out because Hollywood Kid's a big guy and Daizee Haze is super tiny. And he doesn't want to really go full force until she slaps him. Sara Del Rey snaps after that, though, and delivers 4 pile drivers to Frightmare, just lays him out, and that gets BDK DQ'd. And
because by CHIKARA roll, you can't do.
Well, they're a little more lenient than Mexico, but it is that lucha thing. It's called a martinete, where you can't do pile drivers or tombstones, but it was more like excessive aggression. Like they were out, you could have won it. We're going to disqualify you because you're just no regard for the safety of your opponent.
Yeah.
So that leads us to a 4-way tag, elimination rules, where we have BDK representatives Aries and Claudio Castagnoli. We have the bad boys, Chad and Brad Bad. The Super Smash Brothers, who are regular Player Uno and Player Dos. Player Dos still in his mask. And the Osirian Portal, Amasis and Ophidian.
Yeah. Oh, he ends up wrestling without the mask then?
I believe he did at some point, yeah.
Yeah. Which they go on to be members of the Dark Order.
Yeah, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. We all know who Claudio Castagnoli is. The bad boys. They even say on the show, it's 2.0. They're just acting like they're bikers.
Yeah. And they cut a promo on a pool table I have stood by numerous times. And this them playing pool the promo was amazing. It's everything you love about 2.0 except in CHIKARA. Like that's what they did.
It's 2.0, but they're doing this bit. And I'm guessing, I mean, the guy to really ask us would be Pete DeLong because he was glad bad. He was kind of the third bad boy. And I guess like the whole gimmick is they're these rough and tumble 1980s biker wrestlers, just yeah, and they're so over the top like they are now, and it's a fun thing.
Shooting on an invisible gun.
Yeah. And the
eyes popping out.
And then the Osirian Portal back in the Tornado Tag days, one of the first guests we had was Deshaun Pratt, and he talked about his time as a Amasis from the Osirian Portal.
Yeah, I love Deshaun. He's such a sweetheart. Unfortunately, I don't get to see him as much as we used to, but I always will have love and respect for that.
If he is on the card and you're near you, go. He delivers every single time he's in that ring.
Love Deshaun.
So now Colin, Delaney, and Icarus are on commentary. Bryce is refereeing, and this is elimination rules, and each pinfall counts as a win for Campeonatos de Parejas purposes. So even if you come in with no wins, if you pin every other team, you're going to get a title shot. And that's what's on the line in this match. Herbie Hancock plays and we get a dance-off. We get a dance-off early on. And then Ophidian and Player Dos get things started off proper. And then when the bad boys are teaming, Ophidian, Icarus is like, they're 2.0 dressed as bikers. Osirian Portal, though, they were so good. They were great double teams here. They were really on the cusp of something. Within a year after this is when Deshaun does have that horrible car accident. And it looked like he was going to be done. And he finally came back because that guy may be the most resilient wrestler I've ever seen. Deshaun Pratt can't
keep him down.
Battled back from everything. And so Bad and the security get taken down on a dive. Claudio and Amasis in the ring. Claudio just throwing Amasis around like he's nothing because Claudio is so strong.
Are they alluded on commentary about him taking, like saying that he takes steroids? It's like, holy Hannah.
BDK doesn't drug test.
Yeah.
I don't know about Claudio. Claudio seems natural to me.
Yeah, same here. That guy is just insanely strong. And we got to see it recently on this Wednesday on Dynamite, where he spun a guy with another guy on his shoulders. Like, Claudio's no joke.
He's not. And the BDK does beat up on Word down Osirian Portal. Aries Tiger bombs the Masses for the pin. They're out. And then the bad boys and the Super Smash Brothers decide to team up for a little bit until, of course, the Rudos, the Bads, turn on Player Dos. And there was some really fun tag action here. And so there's a good back and forth, and then Player Dos gets the elimination. So now we're down to BDK and the Super Smash Brothers. And the storyline of this match is the BDK, after they were already coming in with that one win because they established in that first match, they beat the Throwbacks. So they have one win. They just need to beat two teams and they get a title shot. So they beat Osirian Portal. They're like, okay, all they have to do now is win the match. So they're going to step out and they're going to let the other two teams wear each other down. And then when Super Smash Brothers survives, BDK comes back in and beats up on them. Uno does get a good roll up on Claudio, but Remsburg is distracted. Claudio hits a European uppercut and then gets the submission with a very important move here. The reverse Chikara special.
Reverse version.
The reverse version. Yes. So that was kind of the Rudo saying, well, we have our own Chikara special that you can't get out of. It's the reverse Chikara special.
Say planting seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know. I love it.
And this storytelling is done over years. It's done from like 2006 to 2010. And it all really pays off in 2000. Like the Chikara special is a through line, and something we'll talk about a little bit later. The Eye of Tyr is a through line.
Yeah.
And so then we get an Eddie Kingston promo. He's happy to fight an old rival in Gran Akuma, but he wants Claudio to watch and see what he does to someone that he respects because he doesn't respect Claudio.
Even then, Eddie Kingston knows what he's doing.
And it really seems like what was happening at this point is we were starting to get a lot of companies like Dragon Gate, Ring of Honor was experimenting with this at the time. The idea of pay-per-view, internet pay-per-view, which is like Fight TV now, but Fight TV wasn't really a thing yet. And so there was this whole push to live indie shows, and Chikara wouldn't do an pay-per-view, like a live internet stream show, until November of 2011. It was called.
That's tricky, man, because if you do something and the quality's bad, or if it's buffering or anything, like, dude, it's an immediate turnoff, and people, especially if you're going to ask people for money for it.
That's what happened to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honors were a disaster.
Yeah,
Ring of Honors were a disaster. But that's how New Japan started to build their reputation in the United States before New Japan World. I think they were doing their shows on like Justin TV, which became Twitch. And I forget the name of the site that everybody used to use. Maybe it was Fight, but I don't think it was. But yeah, there was it was like $15-20. And the first show Chikara does is called High Noon. It was the season finale of the season after this, 11. And looking back now, it's clear that because that was the show where they crowned a grand champion. It was the first time we would have like the Chikara champion.
Yep.
And it was clear that the finals they really wanted was Claudio against Eddie Kingston for the grand championship. Unfortunately, it was all done in the round robin tournament, like the G1. And unfortunately, after they announced the tournament, after they announced all the brackets, Claudio got signed and he had to forfeit pretty much all of his matches. And that was kind of the end of the BDK. And so they do a thing where Quackenbush wrestles Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston is your first Chikara Grand Champion.
Yep.
So one of the great things that come through here is Colin Delaney says, to know Eddie Kingston is to know a man who was never a boy. And this match is just very hard hitting. Akuma tries to ground Kingston with submissions, and Kingston comes back with the strikes. He misses the back fist to the future. Samoan drop by Akuma. He counters a Code Red with a very good Blue Thunder Bomb. Kingston does, and then he ends it with a running forearm strike. So the striking kind of beats the submissions. That's that strong style, big suplexes, big strikes. Eddie Kingston delivers, and then he tells Claudio, "We ain't done." And then we get a just speeding along here, another promo with some members of the BDK. We have Lindsay Dorado, Tim Donst, Pink Ant, who is Pinky Sanchez, and Tursus, who is the big bowl-looking guy. And Tim Donst is another guy who plays into this because Tim Donst had joined. He was a technico. I think he just wore a wrestling singlet. He was like the clean-cut All-American boy, and then he starts joining the Order of the Neo Solar Temple, and he's just becomes evil all of a sudden. Like, he got brainwashed by UltraMantis Black, but he was pretending because he was the one that infiltrated the Neo Solar Temple to find out who taught Chris Hero the counter to the Chikara special. He was a double agent. But then he winds up, we'll get into more of this later. He also becomes kind of a triple agent for BDK, which is
the old double triple agent.
It's pretty elaborate.
That goddamn mole.
Hey, I love the mole.
I finished it.
I called it. I had it. I had it pegged.
Yeah, you did.
I called the mole.
It was a good show.
Yeah, I love them all. So, so this is and this is an incredible match. This is worth the price of admission alone. It's an 8-person tag BDK team of Chursus, Tim Donst, Lince Dorado, another guy who turned on Quack. Quack was kind of like Hulk Hogan, where all his friends turn on him. It's Tursus, Tim Donst, Lince Dorado, and Pink Ant against the Futures Now, which is Mike Quackenbush, Helios, Jigsaw, who was making
Helios is really good in this match, almost like we've seen him before.
He's the one and only. And Jigsaw was a guy who was a big name in early Chikara, had a little bit of falling out with Quack, wound up wrestling primarily for Ring of Honor, wrestled for Ring of Honor unmasked. Everybody thought he looked like a hawk. And then he comes back to Chikara and he wore a mask. And then he did a brief run in TNA as Rubik's, and his mask looked like a Rubik's Cube. Mm-hmm. And then we have Equinox. And if you remember, the original Equinox is Vin Gerard. And then this Equinox, and they even mentioned this on commentary, is Jimmy Olsen, not Superman's buddy.
As I said, Jimmy, he belongs in the Daily Planet.
But if you remember, we were talking about Colin Delaney being on commentary, and the first time that Colin Delaney was in Chikara before his WWE run, he was Colin Olsen. He was Jimmy's brother, and they were called the Olsen twins. And so it's kind of a thing where Colin Delaney is in Unstable, so Jimmy Olsen is taking Unstable's leader, Vin Gerard's old gimmick, and his big feud is with Vin Gerard.
Yeah.
And then, so this is just so fast-paced. Helio is isolated, then Quack is isolated. Basically, BDK just takes turns keeping one guy from the other team away from his partners and just beating the hell out of him.
Lince shines really hard here.
Lince is incredible. Yeah, anytime Lince and Helios are in the match, it's amazing. Non-stop action. Everybody is giving everything they've got. And as soon as that gas tank starts to run a little low, you just slide out. It's Lucha rules. You can slide out. You don't have to make a tag. And it is just go out of your way to watch this match. Fire up IWTV if you got it. If you don't, sign up. Donst uses the Hydra Lock, a shooting star press, a beautiful shooting star press from Lince Dorado. To Helios ends it, and then BDK beats down Helios for good measure.
And we can confirm, if you've never met him, never talked to him, don't know anything about him, just know him from his Lucha House Party days. Man, Lince is a nice dude.
Yeah,
and such a nice guy.
Yeah, had a very
and he makes his own masks.
Does he? I didn't know that.
I believe so. I believe he makes his own masks.
Could be wrong. The night he was in PPW, that was my first night in front of the camera as an interview. And one of the interviews I got to do was with Lince Dorado, and oh man, he knocked that out of the park.
So good.
He knocked that out of the park. He wrestled Action Andretti that night, and Action Andretti got the win. He got the W, and he couldn't have done more to make Action Andretti out to be a superstar. He was so unselfish in that interview. Wasn't, I'll be back, I'm going to get him. It's like, I got to regroup, and there's no shame. I lost to the best. I lost to the best there is. So Lince,
such a sweetheart.
Lince Dorado, such a great experience working with him.
Yeah.
And so then we have our main event, which is for the Campeonatos de Parejas. It is the Order of the Neo Solar Temple, UltraMantis Black and Delirious, challenging the reigning champions, the Colony, Fire and Soldier.
If you are local and you are a fan, or you're watching this or listening to this because you were a fan of the Tornado Tag podcast, you can see our boy Andy Header will be taking on Delirious.
Yes,
on November 12th at Outbreak Wrestling at the legendary Hamburg Fieldhouse. So definitely get your tickets now, and go check out Delirious, as well as wrestling our boy Andy. So make some Andy Header signs.
It is really cool that Delirious is kind of doing more in the ring again. Delirious, I think even at this point, he spent most of the last decade as the booker of Ring of Honor. He was the guy behind the scenes that put everything together. And this is where we're going to get in the other part of our kind of overarching story here. And this is where things get a little crazy and a little comic booky. This is where the Eye of Tyr is involved. The Eye of Tyr is it's a thing that Ares brings out later. It's like a trinket, or a necklace of some sort. And so the Eye of Tyr is something that a guy had that UltraMantis had obtained from another promotion, a guy named Dr. Cube. There's a promotion called Kaiju Big Battle, and it's basically wrestling, but they have like a fake cityscape in the ring, and everybody's dressed up like Godzilla-type monsters. And Dr. Cube was one of the Kaiju Big Battle guys. And in exchange for Chris Hero going to work for Dr. Cube, this was Chris Hero's payment for, in exchange for, like, he's like, UltraMantis like, I'm going to have Stigma or Shane Storm teach you to counter the Chikara special, but you have to go work for Dr. Cube and Kaiju Big Battle, because UltraMantis Black still thinks he's evil, he's devious, he's scheming, and he's very much kind of like the puppet master. And he's the leader of the Order of the Neo Solar Temple. Don't do what Crossbones did once in a promo and call it the Order of the Neo-Nazi Temple, or he'll freak out. So he gets the Eye of Tyr in exchange for Chris Hero going to work for Dr. Cube. And the Eye of Tyr in Chikara mythology is this artifact from Scandinavia where if you use it, you can control someone's mind.
I love this shit.
And that's what happened to Delirious. UltraMantis Black gets the Eye of Tyr, and he uses it to brainwash Delirious into leaving Incoherence, which is his group with Frightmare and Hollow Wicked. And it's called Incoherence because if you've ever seen a Delirious promo, he's a reptile. He's a reptile man, and he cannot speak. He speaks in gibberish. He's Delirious. So he is brainwashed by UltraMantis Black through the use of the Eye of Tyr. But when you use the Eye of Tyr, you have to then relinquish it. You have to give it up, or you will be, as a later spooky wrestler would say, you'll be cursed.
Cast.
Yes. But UltraMantis Black didn't believe in that, and he kept the Eye of Tyr. He didn't relinquish it after he used it on Delirious. And so bad things started to happen to UltraMantis Black. And that's kind of what invited the BDK into Chikara. It's kind of UltraMantis Black's fault, because that's when Ares shows up and he brings in, I can't remember the name for the life of me, but there's this mysterious mask guy who would always show up and kind of ruin UltraMantis Black's day. And it winds up being Tim Donst, and it ushers in the BDK because Ares, who is Claudio's co-leader in the BDK, this is his family's heirloom, the Eye of Tyr, and he came back to reclaim it. So as we start this match, now we've explained all that, UltraMantis Black is teaming with Delirious, who is still under the spell of the Eye of Tyr, and they're challenging for the tag titles at Campeonatos de Parejas. Great first fall. They knew the second fall was going to be quick, so they did all the action in the first fall. And as we mentioned earlier, Fire Ant, of course, is Orange Cassidy. And now you can say it. Soldier Ant is
Drew Gulak.
Yes, Drew Gulak. So they have a really great first fall. Fire Ant gets the pin on Delirious, but is immediately given the Michinoku driver by UltraMantis Black. Or they might have called the Praying Mantis driver. I know he had the Praying Mantis bomb. But then Ares comes out after the first fall with the Eye of Tyr, and Delirious goes insane. He just starts freaking out, and he runs out of the building into the snow. And that means it's 2-on-1, and the colony quickly finishes off UltraMantis Black and retains the Campeonatos de Parejas, which they would soon lose to BDK. Claudio and Ares would win the titles from them. BDK would win King of Trios. BDK would dominate Chikara. And because of the Eye of Tyr, Delirious would then join BDK. And this
how much longer after this does the colony stick around and do their thing?
Oh, the colony was around pretty much to almost the end of Chikara. Not really? Everybody was people would come, people would go. There would be a new Green Ant. I believe Tracy Williams would become Silver Ant at one point. Soldier Ant would leave after a while because Gulak would do more with like CZW and stuff. But the colony was always a fixture. And
like when did Cassidy become Orange Cassidy?
He was doing a lot of that around this time. A lot of Chikara people would try to use other gimmicks other places. Like he would use the name Orange Cassidy when he would do like TV jobs on like Ring of Honor, when Ring of Honor was on HDNet. He would wrestle, I believe it was JC Ryder in other places. That's when he was teaming with Big Dan.
That might be a good topic. We do the history of Orange Cassidy.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Maybe we'll bank that one.
He did There was another guy that would do like would do like enhanced work for Ring of Honor under the name Leslie Butterscotch, and that was Hydra. Hydra was one of Ultramantis.
This is I don't know if I ever showed you this. Sorry, we're gonna get really weird here for a second. Look at the top of my Xbox.
I can't say I have the video window really small.
It's Orange Cassidy sitting on the top of my Xbox.
There you go. That's cool.
It's the only figure I've ever opened, and I have Orange Cassidy hanging out up there.
Awesome. So the Eye of Tyr this whole thing winds up turning UltraMantis Black into a Technico. He's now because he was always the guy like Chikara fans love to hate because he's so damn entertaining. But this turns UltraMantis Black into a full-blown Technico, and it all leads in the High Noon, which was almost 2 years after this. So this is how in-depth and how paced the storytelling of Chikara was, where they do a match. It's UltraMantis Black, and it is UltraMantis Black, and I'm trying to remember the exact teams here. It's him and Hollow Wicked, because now the Order of the Neo Solar Temple is done. It is the Spectral Envoy now, a Hollow Wicked and UltraMantis Black, and they wrestled Team BDK, Ares and Tim Donst, and the BDK was putting up the Eye of Tyr, and if Manus lost, he would have lost his mask, which is losing your identity. It would have been basically there's no more UltraMantis Black. So that was the big thing, and UltraMantis Black did win back the Eye of Tyr in that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that essentially is a show. This is a fun show. I was telling them when you stepped away for a moment, I'm on season 3 of Chikara. I've been like working my way backwards.
Oh, you're marathon on it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not like going hard, but like when I'm playing games and I'm hanging out, I put it on and I watch it back and forth while I'm doing stuff, or I'm like, but I am checking it out on IWTV. We are going to do, I don't know if we're probably next Thursday. We're going to do the history of Sting part 2. Maybe the history of Orange Cassidy will be something that we do, and then we have some Thanksgiving stuff we were talking about that we can do for the episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, anything, put them in the comments below. Tell us what a topic or a wrestling show or anything could be any that you want us to review or talk about. Trying to think what else. Oh, if you want to be a guest on the ABJ podcast, hit me up on Linktree. My Linktree is below. If you click on the Linktree, there is a form to fill out that you can join and be a guest on the show. So I'm interested in talking to anyone in the business, wrestling wise. It could be horror movie stuff. It could be any conversation. It does not have to be strictly professional wrestling. But before we close out, Brian, last thing you want to plug or get out there?
Again, Murder My Dude. It's about 8:15 now at midnight. The Robert Blake episode will release, and you can find it wherever you find podcasts. Look up Murder My Dude. We're at Murder My Dude on Instagram and Twitter at Podcast My Dude. You can't put murder in your name on Facebook, but if you look up Murder My Dude on Facebook, you'll find us.
I've been using hashtag I love ABJ, so that's got to be clean on the internet, right?
Oh yeah.
That nothing bad can happen there.
No.
But that's gonna do it for our wrestling episode of the World of Comforting Illusion review, Chikara. We will see you guys next time. We're out of here.